I'd like to start a little bit different tonight. I don't know how long I'm going to take. I've found what I want to bring tonight quite hard to really put in writing, in notes. Maybe that's where I've gone wrong. Maybe I should have just gone with what I feel and brought it. But I'm trusting that the word that I need to bring will sit right. And, it might challenge, it might confront, but I also believe it's going to bring wholeness to the house. And I believe that that's ultimately what we're here to achieve. I'd like to start by doing something, okay? I would like you to find someone in your vicinity. Now, this is, you're probably thinking, we're going back to heyday like, hello, greetings in Christ. No, we're not, right? Although there's nothing wrong with that. I would like you to find somebody, and I don't want to take too long. I would like you to find somebody and go up to them and say, I love you. I mean, if you can't do it, then don't do it. But I want you to find somebody, and not your spouse, not your daughter, not your son. I want you to go up to someone and say, I love you. Jessica, I love you. Couple of minutes. The new guys at the back, new guys, I love you. I love you. I love you. All right. Has everyone loved on one another? Okay, let me tell you something. Did you feel the ambience in the room? Did you feel it? I could see it from up here. It was gorgeous. Doesn't happen very often, though, I don't think, in our daily lives. I wanted to see that. And actually, I'd only planned that before I came on, and actually what I saw did more for me than I thought it would. Because there's something about those words, I love you, and the way that you all congregated with each other. You weren't interested about a person's life story. You were interested in how much they'd fallen. You were interested in how much they'd failed. All you cared about saying was, I love you just as you are. Is that not true? You didn't have time, did you, to ask? Yeah, isn't it interesting over time as things develop in relationships, the love part seems to gradually just get less and less and less. Now, come on, all you romantic couples, right? Married couples, maybe. Right, you've got to admit now, right, you've heard of the whole limerence thing. Everything seems beautiful for the first part. And then, over time, you think that things are getting worse. Oh, those fuzzy feelings aren't there anymore, like he doesn't buy me roses anymore. Now. Yeah, I don't know why I had to make that noise, but No, it's true. Or the guys are like that. Oh, I won't say. But, yes, anyway. So, what I'm trying to get across to you is, in general, love carries a pattern. Yeah? We start with this heightened awareness of each other. Is that not true? Yes? Gradually it begins to fade. And with that fade, can I ask, comes a heaviness. Is that right? Now, I'm not saying that it doesn't mean that relationships don't work, hear me here, but I'm saying there is a different feeling, and it appears like stodgy. It doesn't feel quite as fluid or free as it did before. Now, you're going to ask me, why am I saying all this? Can you please put up the scripture that I'd like to use tonight? A new command I give you. Love one another as I have loved you, so you must love one another. Is there the next verse, please? Verse 35. By this, all men will know that you are my disciples. A new command I give you. Love one another as I have loved you, so you must love one another. By this, all men will know that you are my disciples if you love one another. Shall I just leave it there? That, my friends, is the center of everything we believe. Love one another as I have loved you. By this, all will know that you are my disciples. So, how do people know that we're followers of Christ? Not by telling them, oh, I'm a Christian, I'm a born-again Christian. That's not how somebody knows you're a follower of Christ. Someone knows you're a follower of Christ when the love that flows out of you towards one another, and I'm going to move on to this in a minute, is so huge that there's something very abnormal about you, almost. Make sense? Now, why do I say abnormal? Am I not right in saying that the world has a love deficiency? Yeah, it's right, isn't it? Acts like September the 11th don't happen when love is present. Am I right? Yeah? Acts like murder and rape and all the horrific things that you think do not happen when love is present. So I would be right in saying then that there is a love deficiency. How sad that we've got to a place where love is so small and so tiny on the, can I call it the Richter scale? I don't know. What is the something scale? The love scale, yeah? That we have got to a place where these things occur. Now, have any of you seen the film Chocolat? If you haven't seen it, I would definitely recommend to watch it. It is absolutely incredible. Just going to briefly tell you a little bit about it. There's a woman who basically, she travels to different towns and she sets up like this chocolate shop. And she doesn't like staying in one place at a time. And, you can watch it and see what the story is. And she's got a story, she's got a past that some people really struggle with. Anyway, she sets up this chocolate store, and all she does is bring kindness to the community. That's all she brings, is love and kindness. Does she have a past that you could say is maybe a little bit dodgy and maybe not? Yeah, she probably does. But all she does is bring love and kindness to the community. Now, she's setting up to do this big event. And the mayor of the town cannot bear that this woman is allowed to succeed when everything that she represents is against what he thinks is right. Okay? So what does he do? He breaks in, smashes the glass, goes in, and he ruins the whole of this display. It is just such an awful thing to watch. And he's smashing all of these, like the chocolate things that she's made and whatever for this party. Anyway, he smashes it all up, and then he gets a taste of the chocolate on his lips. And he tastes it, and he realizes now why everyone likes the shop. So he starts stuffing his face with all his chocolate and eating it all, and it's just such a mess. Anyway, of course, he eats so much chocolate that he ends up with a massive headache and he falls asleep. Anyway, the woman finds him there on top of the ruined, display. And basically she taps him to wake him up with a glass of water. And he looks at her, and he starts to cry because he realizes that basically all she's been doing was really bringing nice things to the community. And he basically says, forgive me, I'm sorry. And she says to him, I won't tell a soul. And when I saw that, my whole body just shivered because I looked at it and thought, I actually turned to Chris and I said, isn't that beautiful? I used that word, isn't that beautiful? And I thought, if all of us were to have that approach to everybody, don't worry, I won't tell a soul. I love you. I think the world might look a little bit different. It might start to look different. Is this making sense? Yeah. Okay. So, a new command I give to you, love one another as I have loved you, so you must love one another. By this, everyone will know you are my disciples. Right. Now, I'm going to ask a question to you now. Okay, so we might not be lawbreakers in the context of, the law out there. But we are actually breaking the law of love every day. If you think about it, Jesus came to establish a new law that he would write in our hearts, the law of love. I would say that the law of love is probably the most broken law on the planet. So, okay, all of you might, do not murder, do not commit adultery, blah, blah, blah. We'll go on to that in a second. But yet, we don't seem to think when our actions towards one another is not producing love. And we don't think, whoa, if I'd have murdered someone, I'd have felt really bad because that's like here. But to not love someone, well, this is normal in life. You struggle, don't you? We've got to get a grip on this law of love because I am telling you, it is going to make the kingdom look very different. Is this making sense? Good. So let me ask you a question where you're sat now. Right. Let's see. Anger, resentment, unforgiveness, bitterness, offense. I could name loads more, right? If they reside in you, then, and they reside in me quite frequently, they do. Just today, I could tell you a list of places where I've been resentful, or I've been bitter, or I've been offended, or whatever. In that process, I lost my beauty. I stopped being beautiful. The question is, if someone who wasn't a follower of Christ and have seen me talking and behaving the way I was, by this, they will know that you are my disciples. How would they have known I was a disciple by the way I was acting? Because I wasn't talking out of a heart of love. Is this making sense? So you've got to ask yourself the question, where you are now, you might not have broken the 10 Commandments or the old law, but we're breaking the law of love all the time. And I think it's something that if we're more aware of it, we might actually start to think a little bit more in our daily actions towards one another. So, another challenge I want to pose to you here, before I move on to the next little bit, is if I was to say anger, resentment, bitterness, unforgiveness, I can't think of the other one I said, those that I just said. Right. There's a thing in psychology called the renaming of sentiments, right? And what that means is, if I was to come up to you and say, are you aware that you're unforgiving? You'd probably think, I don't like the sound of that. If I said you're bitter, you'd probably think, I really don't like the sound of that. What we often do is this, and I'm guilty of it as well, right? This is what we do. No, I'm just hurt. Has anybody been there? Yeah? No, I'm just hurt. I'm not angry. I'm not offended. I'm not unforgiving. I'm not bitter. I'm just hurt. Well, sometimes you might be. But often, more often than not, in the depths of our soul, and come on, tell the truth, we're all people. In the depths of our soul, it goes a little bit beyond hurt. We're actually quite hacked off. Are we not? Yeah? And I think often, the more we name and say what it is, the more actually we open ourselves up to enter into this because we call it what it is. And to some degree, in calling it what it is, there's a chance for freedom while ever we try and cover up those feelings and say, well, actually, no, it's not that at all, it's just this. You can never deal with the core issue. So tonight, in this house, you can be honest about what you feel, but only with a view to bring restoration, allow love to shine. Yeah? We never just air our grievances just because we can. We do it with a view to always heal. Is that not right? Yeah? Right. Moving on. In Matthew 5, again, because we read lots of books now, some of you might find that you prefer to see how Scripture's quoted in the context of when someone's writing about it. I know I do. But if you were to go now back to Matthew and read Matthew 5, even just that chapter, what's amazing about it is you've all heard of the Beatitudes, right? The Beatitudes. It's basically setting the scene of, listen to this, it says, you are blessed when you, and then kind of this happens, right? So is that not right then that he's actually saying you are blessed when you kind of change something or you outwork this, and then if you outwork that, this is the result? Does that mean that then he's putting a little bit of a demand on us? Because I know in this house we also teach that the old law's dead, it's obsolete, we are now made righteous because of the Father, by faith from first to last. But yet from chapter 5, Jesus all of a sudden starts demanding quite a lot of things. Read it. It's quite amazing. But what's interesting about those demands, all those demands do is produce beauty. Does that make sense? It produces a fantastic, relational, just stunning world. And I think that that's what he was trying to get across to us. So, like I say, he says, you're blessed when you, and that produces this. He then goes on, listen to this, to talk about losing your saltiness. Who likes salt in food? Yeah? Salt in food. All of you who don't put salt in your water, leave. Yeah. Come on now. Food's got to be flavored, yeah? Unless you've got a reason to not have salt, and then I'll let you off. Right, it says, it talks about not losing our saltiness, because if you do, how will people taste godliness? He then says you're here to be light, to bring out the God colors of the world. Again, is that not asking me to be something? It is, isn't it? Yeah? He then goes on to talk about completing God's law. What does he mean by completing God's law? Because he knows that we can't fulfill that. That's why he came. He was talking about to complete, ultimately, the law of love. Our job on this earth is to complete the law of love. And he even goes as far as to say this: trivialize even one aspect of God's law and you only trivialize yourself. He's not saying break one of the 10 commandments. That's not what he's saying. He's saying God's law. What is God's law? God's law is the heart of love. He's saying break even a tiny little bit of that spirit of love and you're only trivializing yourself. He says you're here to spread that into this community. Are you with me on the process? Yeah? It will all make sense by the end, I promise. Okay, so he says he didn't come to abolish the law but to fulfill. But again, how can we fulfill the law unless it's the law of love? He then goes on to talk about murder. But then he expands it to calling your brother an idiot. Right? Then adultery. But he then goes on to say, but your heart is just corrupt if you stare. He then goes on to say, don't give empty promises. He then goes on to say, don't just love the people that you like, love the people you don't like. He didn't say like those people, he said love them. Yeah? They're all quite big demands, I think, if you look at them. Right? Now, my question is, why is he asking them? Here's the thing. If he knew we couldn't do it, why was he asking? Or is there just a possibility that the things he was asking he knew we could do? Why could we do it? Was Jesus a man? This is where I get excited now. Was Jesus a man? Was he perfect? Did he fall short? We know that he didn't fall short because if he fell short, he couldn't have been our sacrifice for sin. Is that not right? Yeah? That to me is totally phenomenal because it means I look at Christ in Scripture and it's beautiful. I'm going to keep using that word. It is beautiful. So if he can have that beauty and somehow get through life radiating that beauty, then can I? How awesome is that? You, Kath, you can radiate the same beauty as Christ. And you can live as perfect as him. I'm not saying that you won't have moments of brokenness. I'm talking about perfect as in perfect in love. That's where we can live. Isn't that stunning? And ultimately, being perfected in that love, that's where the kingdom is. That's the kingdom that we're wanting to show people. Is that making sense? Yeah? Right, I'll move on. This is where it gets fun now. Right. He ends with this, and I love it. It makes me laugh. Right. In a word, by the way, this is in the words of the Message, so it's not a real Bible. No, it actually is, but... In a word, what I'm saying is, grow up, your kingdom subjects now live like it. Oh, that's a tad harsh, isn't it? I mean, come on. Live out your God-created identity. Live generously and graciously towards others the way God lives towards you. He tells us to grow up. I mean, that is just bang out of line. You know, live like it, your kingdom subjects. I mean, come on, though. If someone wants to point the finger at you and say, grow up, you wouldn't like it, would you? You wouldn't. Here is Jesus saying, grow up, your kingdom subjects now, act like it. What does he mean? Because he came to be an ultimate sacrifice for broken people, so he knows we're broken, but he's now telling us to grow up. What he's saying is, right, you're forgiven, you're accepted, you're loved, Done. Now move on. There's another step. Another step. If all we are is parading our brokenness to one another, how then are people out there going to believe that there's an answer? Oh, you went quiet. All right? Move on to this bit. So, are we broken? Yes, we are. But I don't believe we have to continually struggle. I don't. I really don't. I love this house because it's so paradoxical. It's like, on one side, no matter what we do, Christ has it covered. He has it covered, right? The Father had a once and for all sacrifice for sin, and it was done. However, I don't want that to be the end of my story. That's not the end of my story. The end of my story is that when I get to the end of my life, that nothing but love will have bled from me. Nothing but love. Not towards the people I like, but hopefully, and God, please help me, towards the people that are against me, to people who don't like me, and vice versa. Does that make sense? Because I can see it. If we can get a grasp on this love, understanding what God has given us, I'm telling you, the atmosphere will be absolutely electric. And that's what I want. Even though I'm not there yet, it's what I desire. And I hope that we can have it as a desire of this house. Let's see where we are. Right, so we've understood that we're all ragamuffins, we're all broken, we're all wounded, we're all bent. It's a bad word to use probably in today's society. Take it as you like. Okay, moving on swiftly. Jesus came to reach the heart of humanity and touch us right at the point of our brokenness. Now, with this comes a problem, because as we understand that we are accepted as we are and not as we should be, there's a laziness that comes from that, and somewhat an immaturity that sits very settled in that, rather than advancing the kingdom, moving forward, yeah? We stay in our ragamuffinness. Do you like that word? Ragamuffinness. It's pretty cool, eh? And that becomes the end of the story. Is that it? Is love not stronger than that? Jesus seemed to think so. All you'd have to look at is the woman caught in the act of adultery, and I love this. It speaks volumes to me, right? She was caught in the act of adultery, right? She's pulled out, dragged out. Everybody's ready to stone her. And Jesus starts writing in the sand, and he says, basically, let him who is without sin cast the first stone, right? Everyone gradually drops the stone, and they walk away, right? But Jesus then walks across to this woman in the sand. He could have thrown a stone. He was without sin, so he could have thrown the stone, but he didn't. He basically said, no, this isn't going to happen. He said, lady, where are your accusers? Where are your condemners? And she said, they've all gone. They haven't stayed to accuse me. And he said, and neither do I accuse you. But get this. He says, now go. What does he say? Sin no more. Is that possible? Is it? I'm throwing this out to you because seriously, this is something that I'm trying to develop at the minute. Is it possible if you've received that type of grace and that type of love, is possibly a necessary response that we don't feel like we need to do those things anymore? Maybe? It's a good question. Think about it. Maybe it's something that you can bring on Wednesday night. Again, I say this frequently in meetings about, if we've understood the love that God has for us, how different would our life look? See, I'm going to be honest. I have a love deficiency in my life. A big one, right? Mainly from my upbringing, mainly because of stuff that's gone on in my life. And all of us have a story, you know how it works. And that love deficiency makes certain things occur in your life that it's not to do with a person being bad, and this is the same for you. It's more, we should really, when we see people struggling, right, let me put this one out. When we see people struggling, we shouldn't be mad at them, we should be sad. We should be really sad. Because we should look at them and think, it's probably a love deficiency. So what am I going to do to bring love into that situation? I'm going to grab the hand and say, do you know what? Even though in this moment your brokenness might not be able to change just yet, let me tell you how loved you are. Now, try and go sin no more in the understanding of that love. I think that's phenomenal. I don't want to live my life just plodding along like, oh, okay, well, I'm accepted, forgiven, it doesn't matter anymore. Okay, I am forgiven, yes, but I want to enter into this kingdom. No, I'm not talking about heaven. I'm talking about now. I want to experience the peace and the love and the freedom that comes in true kingdom. And I want it here. I don't want to wait until I die. I want it now. Right. Should a follower of Christ look different? I believe that they should. Even though we're ragged and broken, we're trying to enter into something that is far greater. It says, be transformed by the renewing of your mind. It says you are in this world, but not of it. And it also says, just simply, you've heard this one, be born again. It says be born again. All three of those are suggesting that there can be a change of being. There can be a change. Let me read this to you. You see, although he made the old law obsolete in the context of our standing with God, Jesus was trying to tell us something and teach us to make the world more beautiful. If we could grasp this new law, which wasn't based on our achievement, but listen to this, but rather fulfilled on the love that we accepted, this would radically change the world and the people in it. Isn't that gorgeous? Amazing. By this, they will know you are my disciples. People in the Rock of York should look different and act different. Now, hear me. I'm going to say it again. It does not mean you don't have your stuff, right? Doesn't mean you don't have your stuff. What I'm saying is, within that stuff, there should be something that looks different. See, I've seen people who have stuff and are beautiful, but I've also seen people who have had stuff and are ugly. And I'm using that word ugly. Right? We need to ask ourselves the question, are we radiating ugliness or are we radiating beauty? And I love what Heather, you said to me when you came in, if you don't mind me using the example, please. She said she can have arguments or, conversations with Phil within their marriage and it can get quite heated, but she says it's not ugly. She says, actually, the whole thing is to bring love to the forefront and restoration. And I love that because it's true. But yet you can also have conversations with other people who the vibe or are you hearing what I'm saying here? So it's not the stuff, it's to do with whether love ultimately is residing in here. It says, grow up and live out your God-created identity. So what does he mean by God-created identity? Ted Hansen says, we weren't born to be right, we were born to be loved. Hear this, Rock Church. You were not born broken. You were born loved. Hear me? You were not born broken and shattered. You were born loved. All the stuff that has added up in your life has come because of situations and consequences and circumstances, various other things. But that is not what God intended you to feel like. If he did, what's the point? Again, I'm going to say it, there is something more. He says, live out your God-created identity. You were not created ragged and broken. Listen to this now. This is beautiful. There is a wonder about you that goes beyond your humanness. There is a wonder about you that goes beyond your humanness. Amazing. You were created to be in oneness with Abba. Brokenness is not your identity. Even though it may be part of the story, it is not your identity. If all we do as people, within the context of our journey with Christ, is radiate brokenness, that doesn't look very appealing to the outsider. Now, I hate using the word outsider, but hear me here. I'm talking about someone who would say that they've never acknowledged Christ or never met him. If all we do is radiate our stuff, although it can actually connect with them on one side because they need to see a group of people who still have stuff, they should be able to see the stuff, but beyond that, they should be able to see love. they should be able to see love. It's like what we've learned, the crackpot, they see the brokenness, but within it they see the love. Let's have a look. Do you radiate Christ or do you radiate rubbish? Are you constantly radiating Christ or do you radiate stuff that doesn't look so pretty? Again, it's a question that you can ask yourself. And I'm not doing this to be harsh. I'm doing it because I ask myself these questions. Love one another as I have loved you. Love one another as I have loved you. I'm going to finish now. I've actually run over. I didn't think I was going to take this time. I'm sorry. Thank you so much for listening to me. We've said Jesus was human. And there was something about the way he lived that was totally extraordinary. But yet at the same time, he was human. Right? What made him different to us in the context of how he lived? The only thing that made him different, that he seemed to have got down to an absolute T, was, my Abba looks on me and he is well pleased. He loves me. He's for me. He's with me. My Abba Father looks on me and he is well pleased with me. Now, if I was to say, Maggie, Abba looks on you and he is well pleased with you, right? The time, when we grasp that, it does something to the soul, doesn't it? It's like you can feel it inside and just think, oh, he's well pleased. Then we go out. That's when then we radiate. And Jesus had that down, he had it down. And I think, we get it right sometimes, don't we? We do. We do get it right sometimes. But I don't think we get it right as often as we should. See, I don't want people to be cruel to me. I want people to love me. So therefore, surely, if I'm loved and I want people to love me, then the only right response is then just to love back. It sounds like I'm rabbiting on here, but I'm hoping that this point is making sense. That when you grasp that Abba's love, and I remember when we used to laugh when we were reading books and we'd have a moment, wouldn't we? And it would be like, Abba's love, awesome. And I think how exciting that is so there for us to have. Does that make sense? Yeah? How many times have I said, does that make sense tonight? Quite a lot. 5. I'm sure I've said it more than that. That's quite good. Only 5 times. What did you say? Did you hear that gambling about how many times I'm going to say that? Apologies to all you newcomers. Okay. Oh, dear. Right. There is a love, listen to this, there is a love that turns broken human beings into priceless treasures. There is a love that turns broken human beings into priceless treasures. I haven't quite grasped that love yet, but we'll get there. Now, just to finish off, when God made Adam and Eve, what did he say? He saw it and it was good. But you know what I really love? You don't hear of them, and to be honest, and I might be wrong, and this is another thing you can go research, everybody, right? You don't hear the word perfect, I don't think, at all in the Bible, or very, very few times. The only time I actually seem to have found perfect is saying that you can be made perfect in love. Sorry? Perfect love drives, yeah. But that's actually all in the same bit. When it's talking about love, it's talking about being perfect now. All of a sudden, this word perfection has come into play. Now, have you ever thought that God created us good, but as we walked and talked with him in the garden and reproduced the fruitfulness of the garden and the barrenness of the earth, we would have been perfected? It's a nice thought, eh? That actually, in that love, we become perfect. That's awesome. That is exciting. Because you think, we all want to achieve, we all want to be good at something, we all want to be the best at something, right? But if I could tell you that you could be the best at loving somebody, wow. It's not something I've ever really thought of, to be honest. You could be, though. You could be the best at loving someone. I'm telling you what, I know who I'd like to hang around with. You can give me the best at, on the stock market or whatever, the best, I don't know. Meet somebody who's made perfect in love. Wow. I wonder what that looks like. It must be pretty phenomenal, eh? Amazing. So, that's it. That's it. But I want to ask you a question before I finish. Are you radiating beauty in your life, or are you ugly? Now, I don't mean ugly in the context of ugly, you know what I mean? I mean ugly as in like inside, like, I love the bit where it talks about, like, you know, if you've got an offense with a brother, you know, go to the altar first before you come in, get it fixed. Fix it. He's saying that this should look different. This should look different. Not because, oh, you know, we're holier than thou and, you know, well, because we've got Christ and da-da-da-da-da. No, it's never about pride. It's about that humility that, thank you, Abba, that you so loved the world, that you gave. And because of that gift, I can no longer shun anybody else because you gave that to me. Because I was a ragamuffin down here, but all of a sudden, that love fills you. And hang on a second, the brokenness is no longer the big key in my life. The brokenness is not there. There is a wonder that goes beyond. A wonder that goes beyond. There is a wonder about you that goes beyond where you are now. Right now. Think in your head. Do it now. Like, what is annoying you? What's getting to you? What's driving you mad? What is giving you a love deficiency? There is a wonder that goes beyond all that. Abba sent himself as Jesus to fix your brokenness. You're fixed now, so love another person into wholeness. Let's do it, guys. If we can, and I know it sounds really hard, because ultimately, it starts here, and it starts with us as individuals first knowing how loved we are, doesn't it? And then I'm telling you, you grasp that for yourself, healing will take place. Like I can see a list now in front of in my head of all the things that I want healed. Like in this house, in relationships with people, in the city. There's a lot. And it starts with love. And I believe that love will fix it all. Because it's not out there. It's not. And that's why so many people are struggling, is because of a love deficiency. So I'm not going to ramble on anymore. I hope that that's made sense to you and being clear, because I've been very nervous, but I even crashed my car in the process. Okay, let's clarify. I didn't crash like a bad crash. I reversed into my fence at my house and knocked over the whole wall. Now, here's the deal. It's because I was thinking kingdom stuff. Yeah. So here we go, everyone. I was seeking ye first the kingdom of God. Now, what does it say after that? Is it, and all these things will be added unto you? Yeah. So I've got a damaged car. All these things added on a new car? Paycheck to fix it? I don't know. You have a think what you can afford. All right? It's all right, good. Yeah. Heart of love, people. Come on. Honestly, have you been listening? No. All laughs aside, though. Honestly, it's a pleasure talking to you, and I hope that what you hear when I speak is someone who's broken, who's got stuff, who's got issues, who's got pain, who's got hurt. I am no different to you, right? Anth is no different to you. Chris is no different to you, right? We all have stuff, yeah? But our goal is to go beyond that stuff. We need to start being beautiful. Because I look out and it excites me when I look at you, because I just think, oh, you're all just so incredible. But then you can guarantee we'll go out back and something will be said that just doesn't quite sit right and just be like, come on, I see you're all laughing now, aren't you? It's just like, come on then, outside. But it's true, and so easily, without even thinking. Okay, here's the thing. Here's a good challenge for you as we leave, right? Next time you get annoyed, or frustrated, or irritated, or angry, or bitter, or offended, you're breaking the law of love, so stop it. I've got my eye on you. No, seriously, we're breaking the law of love. That is one, to me, that's the law that shouldn't be broken. Let's try. Should we try our hardest? Right, so it starts now, yeah? Be watching. Not in a bad way. I just mean, because you know what I'm saying, don't you? Yeah. Be watching what you think and what you feel. And try and find love in it all, because I'm telling you, you might not feel like it will be restored now, but on the other side of making that one decision, I'm telling you, what will come of that will be more than you have ever imagined. And it will feel beautiful. Yeah? I love you. Love you. Love you. I'm proud of you all. I'm proud of where we're going as a house. I think this place is phenomenal. I think that we're on to something. I think that we're understanding the heart of Christ, the heart of Abba, and that is what we were sent to do. Yeah? Love you. Get yourself in the back and have some food, all right?